there's a chill in the air, but it's dry, there's not much breeze, and we have the perfect stage. Are we to have first-time winners or 11 times winners? The 2005 Powergen Cup Final is between Leeds, who will kick off, and Bath, who will receive, and that's Gordon Ross, looking rather attractive in a head bandage, which is covering a cut above his left eye. But Leeds won the toss for the home dressing room, and therefore in their change strip have the final underway, taken in by Nick Walsh, who was here a year ago, part of the Sale team that was beaten by Newcastle. Lots of players with cup final experience. One of them isn't Chris Malone, the Australian man of the match in the semi-final, and he gets the first clearing kick away. Brian Moore.
And it was off the side of his boot, but this is the facet of the game which I think will go a long way to deciding who wins this. Tom Palmer, a tremendous exponent, but so are Rob Fidler and Danny Grucock. And Leeds need to have good ball at this phase of play.
Regan throwing again.
That's a good start.
His former club, it's a terrific start. It was knocked back initially by Scott Morgan. And Leeds really have worked hard on that line out in the last couple of weeks. Here goes Bolshaw. His return to the team has coincided with their return to form, and that can be no coincidence. Terrific player, Bolshaw. Dickens feeds Ross, and this is Christophers, a shooting star with England a couple of years ago. Real handful. There are enough impressive runners in both teams to keep the defences alert today, and here's one of the younger ones. This is Tom Biggs, surprise call up, preferred ahead of Diego Dominguez in the coach Phil Davis's team, but Biggs has real promise. Leeds continue to press. Dickens looking for Kerr, ball was knocked forward. Part of Leeds' problem this season has been the ability to make the most of lots and lots of possession. We saw a little bit in the semi-final, and we saw an early glimpse there. Lots of the ball, but it's making the most of it, Brian.
Yes, well, you're right, that's a simple knock on there. There's no real explanation other than carelessness, really. But Leeds will at least be pleased that they've settled, they've got the good first phase ball, and they've kept the ball in hand, and they've at least pressured the Bath 22. So they'll be content with that start.
Early psychological blows have been won by Leeds. They won the toss to decide who was going to take the palatial home dressing room. Bath, in comparison, are in the Travel Tavern next door. It's not quite as swish. They're also first off the mark to win the hotel reservations. They're staying at the place that Bath always did in the 80s and 90s, which has just knocked Bath a little bit. That's Duncan Bell, who seems to have taken a little bash to his right leg. England debut off the bench against Italy last month at the age of 30, but terrific player, and Bath won't want to see him off the field for too long. He has been key to their improved performance this season, and he takes his place back in this line-out. Second one for Mark Regan, and that's well taken in by Tom Palmer. Rediscovered some of his old form as well this season, and here goes Bolshaw, who has been really involved in the opening minutes of this cup final which has belonged in terms of possession thus far to Leeds. Here goes Dickens, runs straight into Danny Grucock, and they've lost the ball. Dickens was isolated, and Grucock wrapped him up, turned him round, and Leeds are back in their own half, and the bounce evades Bolshaw. This man Bolshaw's had a terrific start to the match, though.
Yeah, and he's quick enough to get through those gaps ordinarily, but not at that time.
Well, this is a concern, though.
Doesn't sound good, Chris.
Just back in the team after a knee injury. You might remember here, playing for England in the Calcutta Cup match against Scotland last month. He spent as much time out of the team this season as he has in it, and these are anxious moments, and it's not looking good. No, well, it's terrible news for Ian Bolshaw.
I just talked about line out time, okay?
That's dreadful news for Leeds. Their captain, Ian Bolshaw, has not lasted more than 3 minutes. He is off, and his place has been taken by the Argentine Diego Albanese, but some reshuffling to do for Leeds. Tom Biggs has gone to fullback.
Going forward. Going forward, lads. Just a pile of bodies. There's your mark. Balls away, crouch and hold.
Well, this is also a phase where Bath will be looking to try and put pressure on Leeds. Two cap props, and whilst Regan has got many caps in the league side, they should, as a front five, be looking to give them a hard time here, and they've started to do that. Scrum's gone up, the referee hasn't given a... Oh.
You knocked it on.
Well, he's given a knock on there, but I thought whenever a scrum goes in the air, that's a penalty one way or another. But it seems to be that referees have simply, there you are, see, and that's sheer pressure from Bath. That's good scrummaging, and that should really be a penalty in their favour.
Terrific start for Stevens, Mears and Bell in the front row. They've got an outstanding front five. Rob Fiddler coming in and Danny Grucock, and
step it back and start again.
There are the bare figures. I think Leeds knew that pressure would come through this area. It won't come as any surprise, and they've been awarded the free kick. Just back to that Ian Bolshaw injury, having been called into the Lions team on Monday. Sir Clive Woodward may well be watching on and wondering as well. We'll get news from the Leeds bench as quickly as we have it. Ian Bolshaw gone within 3 minutes. Bad news for Leeds and potentially bad news for the Lions as well.
Wait, Blue, out!
Ball went backwards. It was Fricky Welsh, the powerful South African, who's in on the wing today, and this is Tom Biggs, who started the match on the wing but is now at full-back, and he really challenged Rob Fiddler there. Oh, terrific stuff. One of the smallest players on the pitch challenging one of the biggest and forcing the knock-on.
Yes, he did well there, didn't he? Fiddler not out of the coaching manual, not facing sideways, but he was well chased. But Bolshaw's loss for a team which have struggled to score tries anyway is, well, it's too soon to say it's a catastrophe, but it's not good at all, because he is the one player who has the cutting edge and the pace to convert, well, the ball they've been getting actually, and good ball.
There's the power of that Leeds pack again. They've got the upper hand in the scrum at the moment.
Well, it was fashionable a few years ago to say that scrummaging didn't matter, it was only a way of restarting the game, but I promise you it's not. When you're under pressure like that, it just shows you can't.
No, you're not too early. Go. Too early.
It's an indication that Leeds don't want to find themselves on the back foot, that they're preempting the whistle, and well, it's an area that they've got to sort out.
Well, what they've got to do is they've got to wait. The referee has got to say crouch, pause, and then they're not allowed to go down until he says engage. Never used to be like that, used to just have to get on with it, but they've got to wait till he says engage, and he didn't do, so there you are.
Ball taken in again by Tom Palmer.
Time out! Rock, no hands!
Andre Sneeman, who goes to ground, the experienced South African. This is Hooper.
Hands off, Rock! Out!
Back to Ross. It wasn't the best of passes. Looking for Chris Bell. Now then, we've got some injury news. Let's hear perhaps what's wrong with Borthwick. Jill is down there.
Well, it's early days, but Ian Bolshaw at the moment is being treated for a quad injury. That's the news coming back from the Leeds bench. Cormac Megahan, the doctor there, has been taking a look at it. It is heavily strapped. It was before he went onto the park. Certainly Leeds say he took a full part in training this week, and there was no notice of any niggling injury. However, it didn't last long for Leeds, and so we'll sit out the rest of this match with, at the moment, a quad strain.
Thank you, Jill. As he was down below running around with the rest of them at Leeds training session here yesterday.
Advantage, 6 in this side.
But
advantage.
Leeds have had to rearrange, and Bath are beginning to take charge of these tight forward exchanges. Nick Walsh goes on the charge. Perry wins an extra couple of metres, picked up by Frickie Welsh. Barkley, this is Skaysbrook. And Andrew Higgins outside, but that's the Leeds 22, and this is Bath's best opportunity of points, and they will have a cast iron opportunity now, because there was a Leeds forward coming in from the wrong side, and Bath will have the penalty.
And Danny Grewcock in a discussion, shall we say, but now he's captain, he really has to stay away from this. That's a lovely break, isn't it? Couldn't quite get away, but just for a second there was daylight. Now it's interesting whether or not that was a penalty against a Bath player, because he was crawling on the ground, and whilst he wasn't, oh well, it's for hands in the ruck, isn't it? Yeah. The ball was on the Bath side, it magically appeared on the Leeds side. It could only have done so via a hand, and it was spotted. And this is a relatively simple kick, I think.
For Chris Malone, 14 points in the semi-final win at Gloucester. He's really come into his own over the last couple of seasons. He was battling with Ollie Barkley and then Mike Catt for the number 10 shirt, but it's his now. He feels it belongs to him. And here's the first chance for cup final points. In the 10th minute, Chris Malone with the penalty, and the hot favourites Bath have a lead. Leeds 0, Bath 3.
And actually totally against the run of play for the first 10 minutes. Leeds dominating possession but not trotting from it. Bath though making a clean break and then forcing a penalty, and Mr. Reliable, Chris Malone, you can't give him too many chances this afternoon, or you're going to find yourself points down continually.
Leeds challenging well at the restart, but the ball was knocked back and bounced into touch. Test for Lee Mears, outstanding season, the Bath hooker. Form that's earned him the cup final place ahead of the club captain Jonathan Humphreys this afternoon. Real prospect, Mears.
Let's go, hooker, please.
Safely won.
Run, no hands!
Barkley ran down a dead end. Walsh.
Release, run, no hands. Stay.
And that's the Bath 10-metre line.
Good that.
Driven forward by Bell, such a popular figure at the club, but, well, the instruction was clear from Dave Pearson: release the ball.
Easy, lads, let the ball
have to lay it back immediately, and,
easy.
well, that didn't happen.
Yes, he's on the floor there, and he's got to give the player who is tackling the chance to try and compete for the ball. It's a very difficult area to referee, very difficult area to play in, because as soon as there are two men from opposing sides over the player on the ground, there's a ruck, and then you can't play it with your hand. But the signal that went out to all the referees this year was that whatever you do in the tackle area, be you a tackler or a tackle player, you have to do it immediately.
Gordon Ross going for goal. 4 or 5 strides inside the Bath half, but it is dead centre. The man who marked his return to the Scotland starting 15 here last month in the Calcutta Cup has an opportunity to square things up in the cup final. Well, the length was certainly no problem. That's a warning for Bath. Ross has the legs and he had the direction then, and they deserve to be level. It's all square in the cup final. Leeds 3, Bath 3, Gordon Ross with the penalty.
It is, and they do deserve to be there, but the Bath forwards are clearly taking the challenge to Leeds, and it's like body punchers in a fight. They will hope that in the last 20 minutes this will count against the Leeds forwards.
Hands off, ruck!
High-hanging restart. Gave Bath's forwards plenty of time to get there, but Leeds snaffled it, and Ross finds good distance. Kept in by Perry. 200th match for the club this afternoon, Matt Perry. He was part of the Bath squad in '96, the last time we were there, but he missed the cup final cut that day. And that is a well-judged kick, and will put a little more pressure on the Leeds line out, and Well, Malone does manage the game well. It's one of the things that he's most proud of, and he puts Bath in positions that have the potential to hurt the opposition.
Yes, he does do that, and he must be. Well, I think Bath will. I think they will fancy their line out against Leeds, because whilst Tom Palmer is a tremendous exponent in this area, overall Bath have more facets to this particular part of their game, and that's why Leeds have cut so that there isn't as much competition, and they've drawn a penalty. And Danny Grewcock, the Bath captain for the day.
That's unusual, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never seen him doing that before. Well,
he's uncompromising, isn't he?
If you thought he was going to mellow him, he was sadly mistaken.
He's
really
not bothered by the responsibility of captaincy, clearly.
No, but if we would get sin-binned, it would be not very good, would it, actually?
He's an uncompromising enforcer, Danny Grewcock. Never knowingly takes a step backwards, and there he was having one or two words with Hooper.
Bit of pointing there, don't know about. Discussion of 18th century French poetry, probably.
Stolen at the back by Scott Morgan.
Hands off, Rob!
Parks. Some tidying up for Andre Sneyman to do. Dickens waits to Ross. Did well. Calm under pressure. Zach Fianati was bearing down on him, but took his time, found some room and cleared to touch. We reckon that around 15,000 Leeds fans have made the trip south, and some familiar faces if you're an aficionado of rugby league. The Leeds Rhinos, who take everything before them in the 13-man code.
Barry McDermott saying hello there.
Malone finds Barkley. Enjoyed his run in the 12 shirt for England during the Six Nations, and this is Lee Mears, who was mentioned in dispatches as a possible Lions candidate before the announcement. Didn't make the final cut, but it's Geraint Lewis, but Lee Mears really is some player.
Well, Mears doing his job and passing out the tackle. Geraint Lewis unable to hold on to the ball. Turnover. It's cost his side 50 metres. The problem for Leeds, though, is no matter how much ball they get, do they have the cutting edge without Bolshaw to put the tries over? And there is a definite question mark about that.
Geraint Lewis in the tight, unable to hang on. He's normally a terrific footballer. Lewis is renowned for the quality of his hands, but that was just a little too sharp for him. Quarter of an hour gone, 3-3. Leeds have had just as much possession, but you're right, Brian, you just have a sense that Bath have the bigger punch whenever they need to try and find it. Gavin Kerr, who propped Scotland's pack at the back end of the Six Nations here. Just having some running repairs. Banged head with Matt Stevens and Duncan Bell here last month.
And does it Borthwick, the injured Bath captain, is a water boy, and I saw him having a chat to the ensemble pack there. No doubt he's given him his words of wisdom, I think.
Well, he runs the line-out. He is the professor of the line-out for Bath. He's the one who comes up with all these secret codes and works out where the ball's got to go. And I saw him at training on Wednesday doing exactly that thing. He is still very much in charge of that line-out, even when he's not playing. Barkley off that left boot, clears, but number 9 for Leeds is Alan Dickens. He was offside, and we will come all the way back, and Bath will have the penalty.
Well, he said he was in front of the back foot before the ball came out, but it was marginal. And frankly, as he got nowhere near the ball,
It's having a slight delay because Stuart Hooper might have some blood somewhere, and that's the reason that Dave Pearson, the referee, is keen to make sure he's tied it up. Hooper stays on, and John Dunbar, who was readying himself, can come off, and despite the acrobatics of Gordon Ross, our touch judge on this near side, Andy Watson, raises his flag, and stolen. Dickens into space. This is Joe Maddock, the New Zealander, back to Perry. Wonderful to see Matt Perry playing again. Had a back problem not so long ago that many thought might mean the end of his career. He's still England's most capped full-back, and well, his international days may not yet be over. Terrific talent, Matt Perry.
Yeah, but I simply didn't understand that kick from Alan Dickens there. The winger was on the opposite wing, he wasn't chasing. It wasn't high enough for anyone else to get under it, and it was just simply kicked away for no apparent reason to me.
Sneyman does the bashing in midfield. This is Phil Christophers. Tom Biggs, with his ginger hair, was up in support. There is Dickens to Ross. This is Mike Shelley, who's been with the club for what seems like 75 years. He's an old stalwart, Shelley. The advantage was coming Leeds' way. They will have the penalty. Ross knew that. And, well, Dave Pearson being very strict on hands in the rock.
Well, he isn't, but so he should be, because it's the one thing that kills games of spectacles. If you have people hanging around on the floor there, not letting go of the ball, they can quite clearly see it's there. The referee has already called twice there, and if you hear him and you keep hold of the ball, then you're stupid, frankly. And especially when this man has got a very similar kick to the one he just kicked, and you would put your money on him getting this one. Because from Bath's point of view, you know, I just don't see with their defence that Leeds are going to breach it that often. The only way that they're going to stay in this game, on present indications, are when you have to stand behind your post watching this man kick. So if in doubt, leave it alone.
He's in the groove. For the second time in a few minutes, Leeds have been given a penalty closer to their halfway line than the try line, but Ross has slotted it, and they are ahead. Leeds 6, Bath 3, and we're midway through the first half.
Well, tremendous strike, because he actually had another 10 yards, so, you know, that was in his own half, the range.
Gathered in by Ross. Bell feeds Christophers. To Ross again. Bounces into touch, and while they're bottom of the Premiership at the moment with a real battle on their hands to retain their top flight status, they've made this trip south with a smile on their face. They are off the back of two outstanding league wins against Leicester and against Gloucester, and if Bath are the hot favourites, Brian, I don't think anyone's told Leeds they really feel they have a chance here.
No, they definitely do have a chance. They've got some class players there, but they have to take every opportunity, and thus far they have done. Nearly stolen, that's bad ball. Walsh getting caught at the bottom. They recovered well.
There is a terrific contest going on in the line-out at the moment. As much as Steve Borthwick's worked hard with his own codes, Leeds have worked equally hard trying to crack them. They've been poring over the Enigma machine, burning the midnight oil over the last week or so, looking at videos, hours and hours of Bath's lineouts. And this is a test for Biggs. The youngster had to readjust, was outside his 22 and wandered back in, and he was wrapped to the floor by Higgins, but well, Biggs did well there. Again, hands on the floor, but well done, Tom Biggs.
He did well for a young lad. Juggled it a little bit here. Let's watch this. Whoa. But he has the confidence to run out, and just for a second I thought he was going to get isolated and may give a penalty for hanging on. John Callard there. ex-Bath international of some renown.
Extraordinary season for Biggs. He started it working in a cinema to fund his student lifestyle, and so impressed Phil Davis and the rest of the Leeds coaching team that here he is starting a cup final at Twickenham.
Where did you dig that up from?
Best not to ask Brian. Dickens to Ross. Alex Popham, the Welsh number 8, leaving the club at the end of the season, heading back to Llanelli. This is Albanese, on much earlier than he'd have expected because of the injury in the first couple of minutes to Ian Bolshaw. Driven forward by Tom Palmer. Albanese again goes down the blue and black corridor. Dickens to Ross. Popham was offering himself. He seemed to halt his run momentarily, which took a little bit of the momentum off it. Ross doesn't find touch. And Matt Perry with plenty of time to work out what he wants to do. But it was almost as if Leeds were forced to kick there. They tried to use the muscular stuff, they tried the pretty stuff, and in the end Ross put boot to ball.
Well, that's what I was just going to say, Nick. Therein lies the problem. They got 4 phases of play and they were all quick and good, and yet they didn't manage to cross the gain line with any of them. In the end, Ross ended up hoofing it away.
Fiddler. Walsh waits, feeds Malone, who's played in some big games. Malone played in Sydney, played at the MCG in Melbourne. He won't be affected by Twickenham. And it's been pretty even so far, and those statistics seem to back it up.
But Bath making a little bit more of their possession. I think that I can't help thinking that Leeds need to loosen this game up, because Bath are a very good set-face side. Their defences are predictable, but they are very solid. And I think Leeds need to tap and go, and I think they need to break this game up, because if they don't, I think they're playing into Bath's hands.
Tom Palmer's having a busy half in the line-out. It's anyone's ball, and it's come back on the Bath side, driven in by Mears. He's not the biggest hooker, but he's powerful. He does make the most of his weight, and Matt Perry directly down the throat of Andre Sneijman, but Leeds were offside. And this will be a relatively simple kick at goal to square things up.
Well, you can see there, the back foot of that is about 3 yards away from where Leeds were. They were on the back foot of the Bath side and not their own side, and whilst the ball didn't go that way, Dave Pearson said that they were closing the option down, and indeed they were.
Now, interestingly, from an eminently kickable position, Chris Malone just gets his screwdriver out and tightens that screw a little further. And in the meantime, there's another injury worry for Leeds as well, because Phil Christophers is looking less than enamoured with life. The centre rather wearily makes his way back into midfield, and having lost Bolshaw, well, to lose Christophers would be absolutely terrible for them, but he's back in midfield and concentrating on defence from this attacking Bath line-out. They went long, went much too long, and Ross can gather. Now then, on the counter-attack, Leeds. Ross. But from an attacking position, where they may well have gone for the try, Bath have found themselves back in their own half.
Well, that was a simple overthrow from Liam Mears. It's cost him a lot of ground, but the other point, I suppose, is...
Here's how Phil Christophers gets injured. It's actually Alan Dickens' boot who goes in. And Phil Christophers won't thank him for that.
Well, he shouldn't be there.
It's come to something when you're being rocked out by your own team, though, Brian.
You're right, but
you're
no
a hard
mercy,
man,
no
but...
mercy, professional.
No hands, rook. Stay. That's foot. He's inside, lad. He's inside.
Back to Malone. It's not a flashy fly half, Malone. You probably wouldn't pay £200 to go and watch him 100 miles away, but he does the simple things well.
Yeah, I was just getting very effective though, isn't he? He won't care. He won't care if he's not flashy. You know, he will point to his stats. He will point to the way he dictates games, the tactical positions he puts Bath into.
And as a forward, that's the kind of fly half you want to play with.
Well, certainly more than someone who dances around and drops the ball. Yeah.
Just a replacement, lads.
And off he comes.
That side went down. You were still up with the ball. Yeah.
Well, Phil Christopher's is over as well. We'll have another look at this.
Well, I know he gets trodden on a bit, but I mean, come on, that happens all the time.
Time on, stay wide. Stay out.
Well, Phil Christopher's has gone.
He's gone past.
He's been replaced by Craig McMullen,
Off him in the
well-travelled Australian fly half, but well, the Leeds backline has been decimated. Injuries to Bolshaw and to Christophers. And we'll try and make some sense of it at the next breakdown. Meantime, though, Bath are trying to make the most of that confusion that must reign in the Leeds defence. Walsh to Malone, flat pass looking for Mears. This is Zach Fianati, 31-year-old Samoan. The word burly barely does him justice. Perry. Bell goes to ground. Malone. This is Skaysbrook, who spends a lot of time hanging around in the backs, but was almost intercepted by Ross, and well, it'll be a penalty for Leeds anyway, because there was crossing in midfield from Leeds, players running in front of each other.
Yeah, this is another area which is contentious. Just because he goes in front does not necessarily mean that he will be given offside, but you can see clearly there it takes two defenders out. So he was part of the game. If that move is done a long way back and the defenders aren't drawn and they're allowed to drift on to the other receiving players, then he wouldn't have given that. But as he clearly impacted on two of them, then right again, Mr. Pearson. Well, you look around, you know, I'm looking at Leeds' backline now. Christopher's not there. Bolshaw not there. They've got an uphill struggle now. They really have.
It's been a straight swap in midfield, by the way. McMillan has gone to outside centre.
No hands.
Remarkably, it's still Leeds who are ahead in this cup final.
He was fine. His hands were on.
This is Ross. Dummy was sold. Sneyman. He has McMullen up in support. Leeds' best opportunity for a try, and Shelley goes straight down the middle. There are so many players on the left-hand side. Bath's defence is now organised. Here's Ross. Thought about the little chip. This is Biggs. The moment has gone. They'll have the penalty. Bath were offside, but for half a second, Brian, there were real opportunities for Leeds.
Yeah, there were. When it came back the first time, it should have gone wide instead of down the middle, because Leeds had 3 or 4 players out on the left-hand side, and then ironically, when it went the second time and it went left, it should have gone right, because the Bath defence had drifted across and Leeds outnumbered them on the right-hand side. So
it's the chip ahead
it's a
from
lovely
Ross.
chip, isn't it? I mean, it can go anywhere. This
Careful here, guys. No pens here.
gets quick ball,
No pens here.
and they needed that to go wide now.
Big moment. Attacking line out, taken in by Stuart Hooper, but well, the defending of that line out was effective enough from Bath. They drove them back, and Leeds now do it. Little chip ahead, and Bell's there. Oh, yes! And the first try of the cup final goes to Leeds. and to the rising star, Chris Bell.
Well, the Leeds Tykes fans are sorely outnumbered in this stadium, but they are the happier. And this man, Gordon Ross, has been the man who has influenced this game most thus far. He's kicked all the points. He will probably convert this, and it's his little chip. Intelligent, sees the Bath defence flying up.
He's only 22, Chris Bell, England A centre. And Gordon Ross with the most straightforward of conversions. And who would have thought after half an hour, and with all the disruption that their backline has suffered, it would be Leeds ahead. They are ahead in the cup final. They lead Bath by 13 points to 3, and here's why.
Let's go, let's go.
Well, it's a very simple ploy, but it's worked. Nick Walsh, despairing tackle, trying to cover, but he couldn't get there.
Leeds' top try scorer, Chris Bell. Well.
Away 4, hands out! 4.
Cleared away by Ross, who is having a tidy enough match from fly half, but that didn't find touch. And this is Matt Perry, who, well, he is an elegant runner, but he was jackknifed there.
Hands off ruck.
Malone. Biggs well positioned. The angle not great, so he goes on his own. Biggs against Malone, and was that a trip? I think it was. The referee, Pearson, has given the advantage to Bath. Here goes Perry. Skaysbrook acting as scrum half. Break for Fricky Welsh, the South African. And they'll come back for that earlier penalty. And I think Dave Pearson's going to have a word with young Tom Biggs here about this very incident, Brian.
Yeah, and that is, well, whether you put that down to youthful exuberance or him being cynical, probably the former, I think, but still dangerous, actually. Very dangerous to trip people.
Dave Pearson did well, though no histrionics, just made the point.
No, I think he rightly took the point of view that it was a more a reaction thing, and he's a young lad, and you know, maybe he ought to know better, but he didn't, and it wasn't something that it was a cynical professional foul, but it was dangerous, and it's rightful it's a penalty. And well, the execution, oof dear.
Actually looks worse the more you see it, doesn't it?
Well, they always do look worse in slow motion, actually. But ironically, it was a good idea, because the Bath defence was flat, and had the kick been a little less full, he would have been able to gather it, and you know, Bath would have been in trouble. But as it is, Leeds are now facing a Malone 37-metre penalty.
Well, that's an important 3 points for Bath. They have narrowed the gap. Trail now by the 7 points, but it's Leeds who are still ahead. 13 points to 6. And despite looking the sharper, despite looking as if they've got the heavier punch, it's Bath who trail.
Yes, I was going to say, Nick, that Bath can't simply rely on the fact that they've looked more dangerous, because they haven't yet threatened the Leeds line properly, whilst they've had a couple of breaks. And they're not renowned for battering people with tries either, so they need to be a bit more positive as well. I don't think they can just rely on Malone's boot and seeing whether they get penalties or not. They have to be more proactive. They have to take the game to Leeds, because there's undoubtedly an edge in the backs for them if they choose to apply it.
And they might choose to apply it here, because the bounce of the ball evading Gordon Ross. Leeds, though, have the throw in, and a Bath challenge for that, and they've won it. And this is Feanati. Haven't really seen that much of the giant Samoan. Malone. Back inside to Lewis. Malone again. Oh, half breaks the tackle. First time that's really happened. Duncan Bell celebrated a try against Northampton in some style a week ago in the Premiership. Walsh to Perry. This is Lee Mears. This is bright moments. They'll have the penalty. Dave Pearson was playing the advantage.
Well, Bath retaining possession well then through a series of runs both from forwards and backs that made ground. And, well, he's simply not letting go of the ball, is he? He did let go of it eventually, but the reason referees are very hot on this is it doesn't seem a long time, you know, holding onto the ball for a second or two. But in that time, professional defences can then get reorganised. You know, and that's all it needs. You only need to do that for a second or two, and that's why they're particularly hot on this. And they're right to be so. And Leeds were getting stretched there eventually. They were starting to run out of players, and their defence was starting to creak a little bit. So, whilst they won't like to give 3 points away, there was a danger they might have given 7 away.
Calm down.
Another successful kick from Malone. 3 from 3. And tiny bites by tiny bites, Leeds are working their way back into this game, much to the delight of the 30-odd thousand who've made their way along the M4. Leeds, though, still ahead, 13 points to 9, and we've around 3 minutes to go to the break.
Ball only. That's fine. It's legal.
Fiddler
No problem with that.
rises highest.
7!
Walsh on the charge, finds Fayanati, has Barkley outside. Barkley up to halfway. Wrapped up by Biggs. Ball was knocked forward off a Leeds player. And because Skaysbrook couldn't gather, then they will have the scrum. But the last 5 or 6 minutes have been all Bath.
Yes, and Leeds' defence is starting to, well, not concentrating. That's a problem, because they had enough men there to defend that, but they simply didn't count. And when Bath chose to go right, they found they had an overlap. Now, from a kick-off, that shouldn't happen.
2 minutes to half-time. Barkley held up the ball for Perry, who was tackled by Ross. Walsh again does some digging. Fayanati taking the ball standing still, though. No opportunity to generate the kind of momentum which can break tackles. Now this is Higgins. Bit more space to operate in. Leeds' defence is up quickly, though. The ball was free. Dickens was within his right to try and hack it away. This is Skaysbrook. Filling in for the injured Michael Littman. Filling in well up to this point. Malone. Rucock drives to ground. Walsh back to Geraint Lewis. Not really making much ground, though. They've had lots of phases. And in the end, Malone says, I'll tell you what, I'll kick it away, and he doesn't find touch. This is Ross. Straight down the throat of Welsh. Playing in his first match at Twickenham. Diego Albanese scampers across. Careful to make sure that he stayed within his 22, can fire it directly into touch, and Well, plenty of possession, but just a bit stodgy, really.
Yeah, well, if it stays this way and the half-time whistle's about to go, Leeds will be satisfied with that. They took the one opportunity they've got, but it's ominous that Bath have started to make inroads both with the forwards and the backs. I was looking at the Leeds defence the last 2 or 3 phases, and it was starting to get ragged, and that doesn't augur well for the second half if Bath can keep this pressure up.
Next time the ball goes dead, the referee should blow his whistle. Is there time for one last Bath shout at a try? Break from Malone, still going Malone. He had Mears outside, and Mears appeared to be held up there by Alan Dickens before he got the ball, but still the opportunities are there. Barkley takes the tackle. Leeds have to be careful of conceding a penalty. Malone, Feanati was waiting on the interception. Sneijman on! Sneijman will run half the length of the pitch. And when Bath were searching for their own try just before half-time, they have given one to Leeds and to the Springbok Andre Sneijman.
Well, once he got loose to the first tackle, there was only one winner of that race, and it wasn't a Bath player, but I'm afraid this pass was so telegraphed he could have sent a letter before he sent it. I mean, he wound up so far, and Sneijman, well, I was going to say he guessed, but he was given every clue.
Well, he scored a spectacular try for South Africa here against England back in 1997. One or two of you might remember that one. That was equally spectacular, and that is a real body blow as well to Bath. Just when you felt they were coming back into this cup final, it's a 7-point moment, and it's the last moment of the first half. It's been converted by Gordon Ross, but Andre Sneijman, South Africa's most capped centre, has a cup final try. Leeds have 2 of them. Second scored by Sneijman.